Introduction to Guardians. Interstellar Rage. I come from Earth and am a guardian. My name is Yi-Yun. Picking up a piece of wreckage, I set off from the Earth cemetery and headed towards the vast sea of stars. My ancestors were waiting for me on the central battlefield of the universe. The first universe also has my enemies. Gather my companions, no race, no planet, no world can stop our progress. We have dreams in our hearts and are fearless. We are the terminators of the entire universe and also the pioneers of this universe. Faith never dies, war never ends. Chapter 1. The War of Doomsday. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A Level 2 transport spacecraft is rapidly heading towards GRU on the 9th route north of the Milky Way galaxy. This passage belongs to the safe passage of the Interstellar Federation, but today there was an unexpected anomaly. A space crack opened in the rear of the transport spacecraft, and a Level 3 battleship jumped out. The spacecraft was pitch black and began to gather weapons. Electronic sound. Alarm, alarm, super nuclear weapon energy accumulation detected, please avoid immediately. Jojo 2 lasers were fired at the rear of the transport spacecraft. Fortunately the Level 2 spacecraft activated its protective cover in time, but the intelligent brain in the cockpit gave a bad warning sound. Electronic sound. Alarm, energy shield damaged by 16%, activate backup energy, please leave enemy ship as soon as possible. Ah, ya, why attack the cute little 18? Is it because I'm too cute? It's really too much, it seems like I can only jump in space. There is only one cat ear man in the cockpit of this spaceship. They are naturally small and adventurous, but lack the necessary strength, so they often become slaves to other races. Ding Shiba is a cat-eared person who ran away from home and stole a transport spacecraft from his home, intending to live on the peaceful planet GRU. 3 days ago, she found a corpse on the waterway and immediately pulled it into the spaceship upon discovering it was human. She originally thought that the human with only a head and one arm should have died, but after saving him, she found that there were still signs of life, so she sent him into the regeneration module of the spacecraft's medical room. Half a month ago, a catastrophe occurred on Earth, causing a devastating blow to the home planet of humanity, which made the entire Milky Way galaxy uneasy. Stronger than the human parent planet, it was destroyed within a day. What kind of force caused this degree of destruction? Gollum inside the regeneration chamber, a naked human wearing an oxygen mask is soaking in the regeneration liquid. He occasionally emits bubbles in his mouth. He has a clear dividing line on his body, from his right shoulder to the armpit of his left hand, below which are all regenerated bodies. If Ding Shiba in the cockpit sees this scene, he will definitely be surprised because all the regeneration liquid on the spacecraft has been consumed by 91%. Judging from his physique, this human is still just a teenager, bald, with a young and handsome face. The medical device next to him displays some data. His bone age is 15 years old. The spaceship was attacked again, and the intense tremors slowly awakened the humans inside the regeneration module. Some images appeared in his mind, and his eyebrows furrowed tightly. Earth. Guardians. Following closely behind him, tears oozed from his eyes. A week ago, he was still playing and joking with his classmates, talking about the future, but now. That morning, he arrived at the Guardian Academy as usual. A girl with a ponytail tied in her head in a military uniform rushed over from behind and patted him, saying with a smile, "Hey, Yi-Yun, I heard you're going to become a Star Ranger after graduation." Yi-Yun turned around and saw that it was Liang Hong, a childhood sweetheart. He smiled and replied, "Yes, don't you think traveling through the stars is a very pleasant thing?" Liang Hong thought for a moment and said, "But the universe is too dangerous. I don't know when we will encounter a life and death war, and many aliens have special abilities. It's still safer for Earth." Yi-Yun looked up at the blue sky and said, "This planet is too peaceful. I want to seek some excitement. Alright, I'll risk my life to accompany you to see the entire universe." It's agreed. Psi alarm. All humans are prepared for level 9 evacuation, the home planet is under attack, repeat, the home planet is under attack. A loud and urgent alarm sounded, pulling the two back from their previous joy and imagination. Yi Yun and Liang Hong exchanged a glance and immediately nodded to each other. They are guardians of the Earth. Their mission is to protect the Earth, even in the face of powerful enemies, they are fearless. However, this day is destined for destruction and extinction. Yi Yun drove the cracked space fighter jet out of the Earth's protective cover, and the scene he saw shocked him immensely. 95% of the Earth's level 8 satellite weapons have been requisitioned, and they are aligned with a space fissure with a diameter of over 20,000 kilometers. There is a fireball slowly charging towards the Earth in that crack, and 98 defense satellites are using a solar beam with a diameter of 10,000 meters to impact this fireball, but it has not stopped its progress. The flickering and explosive light in front of me, and Liang Hong's warning tone came from the communicator. Yi Yun, be careful of enemy planes. Yi Yun regained his senses and turned his head to look ahead. An emergency spiral evaded several laser rays. Liang Hong said, "Don't worry about that fireball anymore. Our task is to eliminate these red starry fighter jets." Yi Yun's eyes were burning, and he said fiercely in his heart, "I understand." The swallow-shaped fuselage of the cracked space shuttle back and forth in the dense laser, and Yi Yun's driving ability is unparalleled. He once achieved a brilliant feat of killing 105 enemy planes alone. He was the #1 fighter pilot at the Guardian Academy this year, and at the age of only 15, he was hailed as the future star of the Guardian. Today his performance remains impressive, as he destroyed 106 enemy planes of the Red Star Empire in less than 3 hours. A large number of interstellar battleships in the starry sky continue to provide support from various parts of the galaxy. The red starry battleships begin to move away from the solar system, but before they leave, they still throw a large number of nuclear bombs. The massive explosion made the entire solar system tremble, and the dazzling light could be seen even billions of light-years away. After the explosion, Yi Yun thought they had won, but Liang Hong's sobbing voice came from the communicator. "Yi Yun, that fireball hasn't stopped. The energy of the satellite weapon has been depleted." Yi Yun turned his head to look at the huge red fireball, which emitted blue light and continued to charge towards the Earth with unstoppable force. At this time, some of the supporting battleships began to evacuate the solar system, while others chose to use the battleship's concentrated energy weapons to prevent it. 10 ships, 100 ships, 1,000 ships, but still to no avail. The 98 Earth defense satellites are level 8 and are one of the top technological products in the universe. In theory, there is no force in the universe that can compete with them. What is this? Yi Yun gritted his teeth, tears oozing in his eyes. He opened the storage box in the driver's cab, which contained a family photo taken when he was 5 years old, with his parents on it. "Dad, Mom, I won't let you down. If there's a war, I'll call you back. You sacrificed yourself under this starry sky back then, and I can do it today because my name is Guardian. Yi Yun pulled the control lever, the thruster pulled all the way, and the tail of the cracked airship emitted a dazzling roar. The cracked spaceship rushed towards the fireball at sub-light speed, with countless battleships and interstellar fighters ahead of it. "He's not the first, nor will he be the last. I'm sorry, Liang Hong, I can't accompany you to explore the starry sky anymore." Liang Hong's face was full of tears as she said, "Wait for me, I'm right behind you. I'm also a defender." Yi Yun raised his mouth slightly and looked up at the huge fireball. The fighter jet in front of him was like the gap between ants and elephants. He knew that it would turn into nothingness before he could reach him in time, but he still wanted to go and live and die together with the Earth. This is the consciousness of the defender. Moreover, what they need to protect is not only the Earth, but also those humans who are about to evacuate. Chapter 2. Desperate Pursuit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Memory began to break from that moment, and he didn't know how he survived. By that time, he should have been completely evaporated. How could he still be alive? Gollum looking up at the surrounding environment and then at his own body, he found that most of himself was regenerative. When his head hurt, some memories began to emerge. That's another perspective. This perspective actually comes from that huge fireball. This scene follows the previous one, with countless battleships and planes rushing towards the distance between the fireball and Earth, attempting to block the fireball's advance with their steel bodies, even for a second. Because Earth is initiating a level 9 evacuation. They succeeded, and due to the second-by-second blocking, the level 9 evacuation system was fully activated, and all life forms on Earth began to move in space. No matter where you are on Earth, even in the center of the Earth, you will still be teleported. There are a total of 3,000 planets that can accommodate billions of humans. Beams of light rose and disappeared one after another, even in space. The humans in the battleships and the pilots on the planes included the fiery red fighter jet following behind the spacecraft. In the end, the fireball still charged towards the Earth, causing a big explosion. A shockwave surged and the scene was interrupted here. Did you succeed? Yi Yun felt both relieved and saddened. Although most humans have evacuated, the Earth's home planet is still gone, and he also saw that Liang Hong had been transferred by space, but he didn't know which planet he had gone to. Yi Yun thought to himself, no matter where you go, I will find you, even if I search the entire universe. Thump. The spacecraft continued to be attacked, the hull shook, some instruments in the medical room began to become chaotic, the regeneration liquid began to descend, and the cabin door was automatically opened. Electronic voice. Insufficient energy, please evacuate as soon as possible. The spacecraft has been attacked, please evacuate as soon as possible. Yi Yun came back to his senses, feeling a bit puzzled. Although he didn't know why he had escaped, what was this time? He walked out of the regeneration module and said, wow, since I'm not dead, I need to figure out who attacked the Earth. No matter who you are or what kind of force you are, Yi Yun will never die with you in this lifetime. As a guardian, he failed to inherit the will of his parents and protect the Earth well. In his philosophy of life, this is a great shame. He put on his medical uniform and walked towards the command room. In the cockpit of the spaceship, Ding Shiba's petite figure was scattered everywhere, adjusting the machine to prepare for space jumps. Yeah, how could it show that there is insufficient energy here? I'm going to be caught, sobbing. Don't cry, tell me what happened. At this moment, a voice rang out, and Ding Shiba turned his head to see that it was Yi Yun. Ding Shiba exclaimed with joy, human, you have finally woken up. Come and help me quickly. There are bad people attacking us and they want to capture the lovely 18 as slaves. Ding Shiba pointed at himself and said, the two cats shook a few times. Yi Yun discovered that this was a little cat-eared man, only about 1.2 meters tall, with a cat ear on his face and flesh balls on his chubby paws. He was wearing a multi-functional protective suit and standing in front of the control console. Yi Yun nodded and said, okay, thank you very much for saving your life. He went to a console and called up the situation in the rear. That is a ship-type space battleship with an energy-harvesting gun. In theory, possessing this weapon should be able to penetrate this transport ship with 3 guns. This means that the other party does not want to destroy this spaceship, or really wants to capture this cat-ear man. After all, cat-ear man is quite rare. Yi Yun checked the configuration of the spaceship and found that it was only a level 2 transport spaceship, with only laser cannons in its weapon system. These laser cannons are used to attack interstellar fighter jets and have no effect on battleships because they cannot penetrate the opponent's energy shield. He pulled out the cargo list of the spaceship and found that there were still some Noma tree concentrates on the transport ship, which contained enormous energy. Several formulas came to his mind and he said calmly, I'll talk to them, don't talk. Ding Shiba nodded and said, oh. The local communication device was activated, and Yi Yun said, listen to the battleships in the rear. If we attack again, we will use nuclear bombs to perish with you. Upon hearing this, Ding Shiba immediately wanted to say that there was no such thing on the spaceship, but she quickly realized that it was probably Yi Yun's bluff. The battleships in the rear did not attack again, but did not respond to them. Yi Yundao said, don't you believe it? Let me show you a few elements. As Yi Yun spoke, he pulled over a dozen elements from the void in front of the display, all of which were already present on transport ships. Finally, he said, mix these 13 elements in proportion and apply star core air pressure to create a simple star core bomb with a power of only 3,000 kilometers. If you want to die, attack as much as possible. After a moment, the communicator finally flashed, and a masked iron-faced man appeared on the screen. The person made a mechanical voice and said, it's useless to threaten us. The great sacrificial lord wants us to bring that artifact back, no matter what the price is. Ding Shiba scratched his ear and cheek and said, it's over, your plan won't work. Yi Yun was taken aback at the words. What does this mean? Isn't it for this cat-ear man? What do you want? Yi Yun asked iron-faced man, a mask, that's a divine object. Yi Yun frowned and checked the list of goods again, only to find that there were no masks at all. At this moment, Ding Shiba beside him whispered, I know that mask. It came with you and was placed on your chest. Later, I left it in the medical room. Yi Yun said, why didn't I see it? No, it's in the medical room. I'll go take a look. Ding Shiba quickly checked and found that there was really nothing left. Returning, he said, oh my, it's over. We're running out of things and we're going to be taken as slaves. What should we do? Ding Shiba looked pitiful with a pair of cute big eyes. Yi Yun said, don't worry, I'll take another look. This time, Yi Yun didn't expect the cargo on the spaceship. He really didn't want to die together and managed to escape. He also had to go find Liang Hong, seek revenge from the Red Star Empire, and find out the truth about that fireball. He must not collapse here. A star map was pulled out on the virtual screen, and he looked at the navigation path. The knowledge he had learned in the past immediately came to mind. Heart. My mental and memory abilities have improved, why is this? And what happened to the previous scene? While examining him, he was thinking about his body changes. Finally, he marked a coordinate on the star chart and said, sit still, I'll drive. We're going to run for our lives. Ding Shiba immediately sat in the captain's seat and said, okay, come up with a solution quickly. I don't want to become a slave, sobbing. Chapter 3. The Furious Power of Star Beasts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Yun immediately manipulated the spaceship for a space jump, and there was very little energy left on the spaceship. They had to make an emergency landing and then use cargo for energy synthesis in order to continue flying, but the prerequisite was to first get rid of the pursuit of the Level 3 battleship behind them. Yi Yun clicked continuously on the virtual screen. He had learned more than 1,000 types of spaceship driving techniques at the Guardian Academy, and in his eyes, manipulating these Level 2 spaceships was as simple as a toy. Yi Yun reminded, sit still and prepare to jump in space. Ding Shiba grabbed the handle of the seat with both hands and curled up on the captain's chair. At the same time, on the battleship behind him, a human from Sirius said, Captain, we have discovered space energy. They are ready to jump in space. Iron-faced man, chase up, continue firing, and take down their thrusters. Yes. 2 spacecraft made space jumps in front and behind, and after coming out, they had already crossed a distance of 3 light-years and arrived at the rocky ring of a red star. This 3,000-kilometer-long star stone ring is covered in gravel, like a halo guarding the red star, including up to 5 small satellites. Yi Yun chose to make an emergency landing on one of these satellites. But first they need to break into this dense gravel ring. Ding Shiba looked at the dense gravel star ring and said, wow, you're crazy. The energy of the spaceship is only 2% left. Without an energy shield, we will be crushed into powder. Yi Yun said calmly, I don't want to die yet. Don't worry, my driving skills are third in the universe. As he spoke, he pulled the cross-control lever diagonally, and the spacecraft cut into a gap in the gravel, entering the gravel ring. 2 lasers behind him shot onto the gravel, blasting out a large amount of stardust. There was a commotion in the command room of the rear battleship, and the pilot of the strange Wolf Star said, Captain, they have entered the Stone Star Ring. The iron-faced man pondered for a moment and said, send a sacrificial team to catch up, make sure to bring that thing back. Yes. Quickly, 15 interstellar fighter jets flew out of the battleship. They were small in size and could freely shuttle into the gravel ring. After entering the Stone Star Ring, Yi Yun quickly manipulated the steering stick. Unconsciously, all the stones in front of him slowed down, and his pupils turned into needle-shaped pupils at some point. The volume of the Level 2 spacecraft is still quite large, so it is inevitable to be hit by debris, but it did not cause fatal damage. Ding Shiba hugged his head and said, I'm going to die, but compared to being caught and turned into a slave, I'd rather die here. Why do you always say they want to take you as a slave? Yi Yun asked quickly without looking back. Ding Shiba said, because that's what the Lord Mother said. The whole universe wants to catch us as pets and slaves, and I, Ding Shiba, am the cutest among the people of the cat ear star. They will definitely catch me as a pet or slave when they see me. Yi Yun smiled and said, what if they just want to taste your taste? Compared to the aesthetics of different races, they are more interested in the taste of rare foods. After Yi Yun finished speaking, he found that Ding Shiba had not moved. He turned his head and saw that his tears had fallen into a waterfall. While Yi Yun's head was covered in black lines, it seemed that he looked too high at this little girl, so he was scared to cry. Ding Shiba cried and said, are you saying they're going to eat the cute me? Yi Yun smiled bitterly and said, I'm just joking with you. With me around, no one can hurt you. While driving, he checked the starry sky radar and found that there were more than 10 red dots approaching quickly behind him. He knew that these were interstellar fighter jets dispatched by enemy ships. Humph, trying to catch up with me is ridiculous. Yi Yun pushed the propulsion rod up a bit again, and the speed of the spaceship increased by one more step. His eyes were burning, and he controlled the speed with both hands faster. The transport ship shuttled back and forth between the stones, avoiding huge stones each time. The small ones more or less collided with the spaceship, causing damage to the outer wall, but it did not affect flight. The transport ship trembled incessantly, as the rear fighter jet was about to catch up. Yi Yun saw that the plane had made an emergency landing and stopped on a rotating boulder, and had extinguished its thrusters. The radar of the rear fighter jet instantly lost its mark on the transport ship. The area of this gravel is twice that of a transport ship, and it rotates slowly. When the interstellar fighter jet flew over, it just covered the position of the transport ship. Yi Yun sneered and said, a group of guys with outstanding intelligence will have to wait for hundreds of years to pursue your grandfather. He changed direction and continued to advance, although he knew those interstellar fighters would still catch up, at least he bought some time. Ding Shiba exclaimed with joy, you're amazing. Yi Yun smiled and said, of course, as I have said, my driving skills rank third in the universe. Ding Shiba asked, who is the first and second? My parents. Oh, the little girl believed it to be true, and Yi Yun smiled bitterly without further explanation. The transport ship broke through the atmosphere of white sands with only 0.4% of its energy remaining, and below it was a patch of white sand and ocean. 13 interstellar fighter jets followed closely, 2 of which had already crashed into the star ring. Yi Yun said indifferently, you're really chasing after me. It seems like we're going to fight on the ground. Can you fight? Ding Shiba shook his head wildly and said, I only know how to sell cuteness and steal things. Yi Yun knew that this little guy couldn't be relied on, so just don't cause any trouble. The transport ship made an emergency landing on a sand dune by the sea, and a large amount of smoke and dust appeared from UU reading www.uukangshu.net. After stopping, Yi-yun said, "Stay on the spaceship and don't get off. In case I fail and you don't want to be caught, you can detonate that bomb." Yi-yun did not lie. He really made a simple nuclear bomb. Ding Shiba nodded and said, be careful. Yi-yun took a laser gun and got off the spaceship, while 13 interstellar fighters landed on the outskirts of the transport ship, surrounding it. A large group of strange wolf people walked down from above. They had a strong physique and resembled werewolves in appearance, but their faces were similar to humans. They had a nose, eyes, wolf ears and sharp teeth, and were over 3 meters tall. Compared to Yi-yun, they were much shorter. The leader of a serious human said, "Humans, your home planet has been destroyed. Your era of human rule over the Milky Way has come to an end. It's best not to resist us serious humans." Upon hearing these words, Yi-yun's blood surged with anger. His mother planet was an eternal pain in his heart, and this strange wolf star person was seeking death. There seemed to be a voice whispering in his mind. "Hunger, tear them apart, bite them to death, devour them." The voice became clearer and louder, and closely following him, his eyes turned into red and blue pupils, emitting a terrifying aura throughout his body. His body arched slightly, with a layer of dark blue armor attached to his body. He growled softly in his mouth, "Hunger." In the next moment, his figure disappeared into place. A second later, a deep pit appeared in place, and at the same time, the person from the strange wolf planet who had just spoken had already been pierced through his heart by an arm. "Your energy organs must be delicious," said Yi-yun as he looked up at the frightened and shocked Kiliuxing Humane. After finishing speaking, he grabbed and pulled out the still beating heart of the strange wolf star man, devouring it in a big gulp. Chapter 4. Soul Wars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The terrifying speed of Yi-yun surprised one of the strange wolf stars present. "When did humans become so powerful? Did you encounter a human guardian?" The human guardians are the elites among humans, possessing special abilities. Powerful guardians are said to be able to destroy a planet alone, but that was 1,000 years ago. With the departure of a group of human guardians, the inheritance of the Earth Guardians has gradually declined. As the universe continues to shrink, the doors of space are forced to close and can never be opened. To travel to other worlds, one can only travel through interstellar space. For 1,000 years, humanity has continuously multiplied and expanded, and the war with the Red Star Empire has never stopped. Among them are powerful defenders, and it seems that they have encountered one today. But these strange wolf star people did not back down. They were sacrificing the team, and if they couldn't complete the mission, they would still die if they went back. The laser gun in hand aimed at Yi-yun and fired continuously, regardless of whether the strange wolf star person was still alive or not, shooting together with him. However, as the laser was about to hit Yi-yun, a crimson spherical protective cover appeared around him, blocking all the lasers. The laser only caused ripples in circles when it hit him. Yi-yun, who had eaten his heart in 3 bites, tilted his head and said, "Weak body, weak enemy, weak weapon, weak universe. Let my star beast, Lord Aura, rule this universe and use all resources for rebirth. When I kill back to the first universe, I will let those former enemies fall into eternal fear again." Upon hearing these words, everyone around was shocked. Is this person not human? And Ding Shiba on the transport spacecraft was also shocked. Although she was a bit silly, she was not a fool. Yi-yun's sudden change was more like being taken away by a powerful soul. "Oh no, the wolf's den hasn't even gone out, and another star beast has arrived. It seems that I, Ding Shiba, am destined to miss my 18th birthday." Yi-yun's figure flickered again and came to a strange wolf star person, penetrating his heart. He still pulled out his heart and devoured it. The strange wolf star person was scared and helpless, to be precise, their laser weapons were useless. The 5 clever people from behind immediately boarded the fighter jet and did not flee, but attacked with the fighter jet. However, these laser rays still have no effect and they hit the protective cover, it's just that the ripples are slightly larger. Ore said, tickling doesn't even count. If it weren't for my hunger, I wouldn't even bother eating you low-level creatures. As he spoke, a ray of light condensed in his hand and he roared softly, do you think you can escape by flying into the sky? Take me and hit the death ray cannon. With one arm pushed out, a dark red beam of light shot out from his palm, piercing through the interstellar fighter jet before sweeping across it. All 5 fighter jets suffered varying degrees of damage and immediately crashed to the sand. He finished shooting a beam of light and ate again. In less than 5 minutes, he left all the serious people on this sandy land. After finishing his meal, his gaze swept across. As he looked at the transport spacecraft, his blue pupils saw a heat source, which was the figure of Ding Shiba. Ding Shiba also saw this scene on the external monitor of the spaceship and tearfully said, it's over, I'm going to be eaten. Woo-woo. I knew I wouldn't have run away from home long ago, but in fact, my mother has been nagging a bit, and Gruxing is not that good either. Oreiyun licked his teeth and said, little one, come out, I've already seen you. Ding Shiba trembled as he walked off the spaceship with a nuclear bomb in his arms and whispered, you can't eat me. I'm with you, do you remember? Okra said, remember, unfortunately I'm not that useless human, and I have my own way to leave this planet. You're just my backup food, hee 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 hee. Upon hearing these words, Ding Shiba's face was filled with tears and his heart was icy cold. At this moment, a sudden mutation occurred, and O'Hara suddenly stopped in his tracks. His body was arched and his hands were vertical, and he had an additional mask on his face at some point. Ding Shiba stopped crying when he saw this scene and thought to himself, there's a play. She knew that the mask was very eerie. The one she had been with Yi Yun before, to be precise, was pulled into the spaceship by her, and then suddenly disappeared. Now it reappears, and there may be a turning point. Ding Shiba was right. At this moment, this mask is engaged in a soul battle with the will of Aura, including Yi Yun's own soul. In the soul space of Yi Yun, when playing 3 games, Yi Yun is the weakest. Aura is 100 times his size, while the mask is only 10 times the size of Yi Yun's soul. Aura looked at the mask and said, it turns out to be a cursed artifact. The mere artifact also wants to prevent the rebirth of Lord Aura. It's such a foolish thing, destroy it. Ahira's front paws condensed a dark red beam of light and directed it towards the mask. The mask quickly disappeared into place, and Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net immediately appeared next to Yi Yun. Yi Yun was shocked. He couldn't help with this level of battle at all. He had been imprisoned in the soul space by O'Hara before, and it was this mask that saved him under her carelessness. The mask gave him a message, battle. The problem is that Yi Yun doesn't know how to engage in soul battles. The mask blocked several attacks from Aura and gave him another message. Your will determines everything here, and you are the master of this body. Upon hearing this, Yi Yun felt lost in thought as a fighter jet appeared in the space, and his soul instantly appeared in the cockpit. The appearance of this fighter jet is exactly that of the cracked spacecraft. He used the laser of the cracked spacecraft to continuously attack Aura, but was also blocked by his protective shield. The mask said again, not enough. Yi Yun was taken aback at the words, while O'Hara was a bit anxious. He had previously taken advantage of the human's angry emotions to occupy the main consciousness and imprisoned him. Who could have imagined that there was still a cursed artifact deep in this guy's soul? If it had been the body of a star beast in the past, he would have despised this divine creature at all, but now he happens to be somewhat restrained. Damn it, don't try to stop my rebirth, just die for me. Aura's appearance is a fat, 6-winged fearsome beast, with a huge sheep horn on its head and thick insect shells on its skin. In anger, a light blue light flickers under his skin, gathering energy from the tail to the head. Finally, he roars and fires a penetrating energy cannon. The mask teleported again, and Yi Yun's entire body trembled, causing a slight damage to his soul space. Yi Yun felt a headache and angrily said, "Damn it, what a powerful force. We can't let this guy do whatever he wants. This is my world." Chapter 5. Almost scaring the end. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Yun understood that this was his soul space, and he could use all means to attack this star beast. His fighter jet changed once again and directly transformed into an 8-level defense satellite, without the need for energy gathering, emitting dazzling solar beams. Aura said, "I've seen this kind of thing before, it's useless to me, Aura." Yi Yun was shocked, and at this moment, his mask said, "Keep going." Yi Yun was taken aback and thought to himself, "What a despicable guy, you're trying to deceive me. If this level of beam is not enough, then come back." 1, 2, defense satellites kept appearing in this soul sea, and as the sun's beams increased, Aura began to become fearful and fearful. "Human, I can give you powerful power. I coexist with you, and you must really want to know the culprit who destroyed your home, right?" growled softly. Yi Yun roared angrily, "The culprit is you. Kill you, even if I die." Aura said, "You're wrong. I wouldn't have come to this universe before. There was someone else who opened the channel to the universe." Yi Yun was surprised by the words, but he still didn't stop attacking. At this moment, his mask said, "His power can indeed be used by you, but it also comes with great danger. Do you want it?" Yi Yun pondered for a moment and said, "Do you have a solution?" The mask said, "You can choose to seal it. Once your soul is strong enough to control or even absorb it, you can completely occupy this power." "Who are you? Why did you choose to help me?" Yi Yun asked. The mask said, "My name is Huanmian, an old antique that has been cursed for billions of years." Upon hearing this, Yi Yun was startled and finally remembered this thing. Fantasy face, it was a cursed artifact that destroyed hundreds of planet life in legend. Every owner of it had to die hard. Huan Mian said, "I know what you're thinking. Those people just don't have enough strength to control me. Opportunities come with crises, and once you get through them, you can become stronger. Do you want to give it a try?" Yi Yun was stunned for a moment before finally laughing wildly and saying, "Ha ha ha, why not? I'm not even afraid of death. The red star shines, and even those unseen enemies, I will step on them one by one. The first one is you." As Yi Yun spoke, he looked at the star beast Aura, who angrily said, "Human, you want to imprison me, delusional." Yi Yun sneered, "I was careless before, but now I understand." Hundreds of defense satellites were suppressed, followed by chains that emerged from the void and bound Ohira. The phantom plane arrived at Ohira's feet, creating a huge magic circle. As Ohira was gradually pulled into it, her body sank in, and in the end, only a head remained. Huan Mian said, "All right, I have sealed him. If you need strength, you can draw it, but remember not to use it too much at once, as it will unleash it and you will be backfired." Yi Yun nodded and asked, "And you?" "I need a period of silence, I need fresh soul sacrifices." After speaking, the phantom face disappeared into this sea of souls, and Yi Yun felt lost in thought. Just as he was about to leave, the star beast Ahira roared, "Kid, you can never imprison a star beast. That guy deceived you, he's the one who really wants to take over you." Yi Yun was taken aback by the words and then sneered, "Whoever it is, let me fight my way before we talk." Yi Yun knew that talking to these two guys was full of deceit, but it didn't matter. He had already died once, and his faith had long disappeared with the destruction of the earth. All he wanted to do now was seek revenge. Outside there were numerous cracks on Yi Yun's imaginary face, as many as 10. Suddenly, Yi Yun straightened his body and opened his round and clear eyes. This scene startled Ding Shiba, who retreated and leaned against the hatch of the spaceship, clutching the nuclear bomb tightly in his arms. Upon seeing this scene, Yi Yun suddenly had a wicked idea in his heart. He arched his body and yelled at Ding Shiba, "I want to eat you, let me taste your delicious food." He. Ah, I would rather die than make food, Ding Shiba. Tick by tick, Ding Shiba was frightened by Yi Yun and directly activated the countdown system of the star nuclear bomb. Yi Yun was startled and thought to himself, "Oh my, I've forgotten that this girl is so naive. I can't be joking. It's me, close it." Yi Yun rushed to her with a swift step. Ding Shiba tightly hugged the nuclear explosion trajectory and said, "Don't try to deceive me, I want to die with you." Yi Yun said urgently, "It's really me. Look at my eyes." Ding Shiba trembled and opened his eyes, only to find Yi Yun standing straight with clear eyes. He suddenly became even more panicked and exclaimed in horror, "It's exploding, it's about to explode. Think of a way. Give it to me." Yi Yun took the star core bomb and cut off one of the energy transmission lines on it with his 2 fingers, stopping the countdown. Yi Yun exhaled and said, "Huh, you almost killed me." Ding Shiba suddenly pounced on Yi Yun, and Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net gave him a crazy scratch in the face, saying, "It was you who almost killed me. Why are you lying to me? You said you wanted to eat me, you're the worst." Yi Yun felt guilty and was scratched all over his face, but Ding Shiba found that the scars on Yi Yun's face were healing at a visible speed to the naked eye. She was surprised and said, "Wow, your regenerative ability is so strong." Yi Yun touched his face and knew that this should be the self-healing ability of the star beast body. His body was more than 10 times stronger than before. Yi Yun returned the bomb to her and said, "All right, you're angry too. It's time to do some work." Ding Shiba's eyes twirled cunningly and said, "Work? What work?" "Store the bombs, then control the transport robot to collect the parts of those fighter jets to repair the spaceship. I'll fill the energy blocks. Don't you want to leave this ghost place?" Ding Shiba playfully said, "Of course I want to leave, but I am the captain and a weak cat-ear star man. Shouldn't you do all these things?" Yi Yun lightly slapped her head and said, "If you still want to be a captain like this, you probably can't even understand the star map, can you?" Ding Shiba straightened his chest and said, "Who said that? I am the cutest Ding Shiba in the whole universe." "And then what?" "Ah, no matter what, I won't do it anyway." As she spoke, the little girl ran into the spaceship with a bomb. Yi Yun shook his head and knew that the little cat-ear star man was probably a wealthy young lady, perhaps with a noble status. It was a bit difficult for her to do those things. He could only come by himself, enter the command room, and use the spaceship's intelligence to call out the cargo handling robots in the warehouse. These robots are very powerful, but they do not have weapons, they are just porters. Chapter 6. The universe is so big, I want to go and see it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Yun gave the instructions to the transport robot to collect the wreckage of the fighter jet, while he himself went to collect the energy blocks of the fighter jet. If the energy blocks were not enough, he needed to use the materials on the spacecraft for energy compression. He arrived on a relatively intact fighter jet and directly broke open the metal protective layer with force, taking out the energy blocks inside. The surface temperature of this energy block reaches 1000 degrees Celsius, but it can be grasped empty-handed. Yi Yun already knew that the fireball with a diameter of over 10,000 kilometers was actually just the essence and blood of Aura's body. It was calculated by the powerful enemy of the first universe, a technologically advanced interstellar empire that fought for nearly 200 years, causing the destruction of hundreds of galaxies. In the end, the technology empire won the war, but Aura was unwilling and chose the method of rebirth with blood essence to escape. But an inexplicable force pulled it from the first universe to this universe, and the ultimate goal was to point directly to Earth's mother planet. In the end, it inexplicably integrated into Yi Yun's body, which can be connected through the memory of the illusion. The phantom plane almost arrived at the solar system at the same time, and after discovering a huge energy reaction, it happened to teleport to the location of Yi Yun, and then the two soul forces collided together. Two terrifying forces collided with each other, and a large amount of Aurora's essence and soul were injected into Yi Yun's residual drive, while the illusion surface floated in the starry sky along with Yi Yun's residual drive. But what kind of force is it that wants to destroy the Earth's mother planet? If he has this strength, why not personally take action, but use Ohira's rebirth technique? All of this seemed like a huge conspiracy enveloping Yi Yun's heart. He knew he might already be in the calculations of that powerful existence, but he didn't care. As long as he kept getting stronger, one day he would understand the truth, even if it was a tragic ending, at least he had the right to know the truth. Put the energy block into the space capsule and have the transport robot drag the wreckage onto the transport spacecraft. These scrap metals can still be sold for some money. A total of 5 energy blocks were collected, and the rest were destroyed by Aura. He knew that there was a destructive power sealed within him, but he dared not use it recklessly. The power of Aura is far beyond what has been shown before. Firstly, this frail human body limits his strength. Secondly, he is in an extremely hungry state, and his strength is not guaranteed. To become stronger, Yi Yun must first eat. Put the energy block into the energy slot of the transport spacecraft, return to the cockpit, and the energy display shows that it has been filled. 79% of the energy is enough for them to support Gru Star. Next is the outer layer repair work of the transport spacecraft. Yi Yun and the repair robot worked together and completed the basic repair within 2 days. During this period, Ding Shiba no longer evaded and began to learn about spaceships, hoping that one day she could also be of some help. Yi Yun looked at her curiously, and Ding Shiba blushed and said, "I'm not learning for you. I just want to learn more skills." Ding Shiba is not only the cutest in the whole universe, but also the most capable cat ear star person. Yes, you're the most capable, hee 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 hee, it doesn't sound like good words, humph. The transport ship took off again, and on the third-class battleship outside the Star-Stone Ring, the iron-faced man was already certain. The sacrificial team sent out earlier had completely lost contact, either perished with the transport ship or was eliminated. Regardless of the type, he had to send another sacrificial team to search. But on that day, his leader sent him interstellar communication. A plump fish man with a catfish head sat on his throne and asked, "Gerda, how are things going?" The iron-faced man half knelt and said, "Leader, that thing has been brought into the gravel star ring area. A sacrificial team has been dispatched to search for the trace of the transport ship. Catfish Star Humane. The thing is no longer there. Go to Gru Star, this is the order of the High Priest." Yes. The signal was interrupted, and the Iron Man was in a cold sweat. Just now, he clearly felt that the leader was angry, and the trembling catfish whiskers were the best proof. If this matter cannot be achieved again, I'm afraid. The Iron Man stood up and sat back in the captain's position, commanding, "Turn course, target Gru Star, set off." Yes. 3 hours ago, Yi Yun and Ding Shiba had already embarked on a space jump on a transport ship and left the Star-Stone Ring, with their target naturally being the planet Gru. Ding Shiba originally planned to settle there. She had heard that Gru was a peaceful planet and there was also a huge parallel world marketplace, so she always wanted to come and see it. At the age of 18, she was about to reach adulthood and could travel alone, so she stole her family's Level 2 transport spacecraft and couldn't wait to leave Cat's Ear. The journey was quite smooth until she met Yi Yun, who brought her a life and death crisis, but also brought her thrilling interstellar journey. This made her feel that it was too early to settle on a peaceful planet at such a young age, and perhaps she should take advantage of her youth to visit other planets. Ding Shibaden sat on the captain's throne and asked, "Yi Yun, you said the universe is so big, should I go out and take a look?" Upon hearing this, Yi Yun sprayed his drink and said, "Pooh, cough, you little cat-eared person still wants to go out and take a look. You don't even know how to fire a laser gun. Ding Shiba refused and said, why not? It's just a continuous touch shooting, it's just a bit off target. Yi Yunbai glanced at her and said, are you almost there? I almost got killed by you. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net, and I'm behind you, big sister. Ding Shiba said angrily, don't call me big sister. Although I am indeed a few years older than you, I am the cute and silly Ding Shiba. Call me cute Shiba. As the two got along, they already knew some information about each other, including age. When they found out about each other's age, both sides were somewhat shocked. Ding Shiba didn't expect Yi Yun to be so talented at such a young age, knowing everything. However, Yi Yun felt that this cat-eared little loli was only about 10 years old as a human, and was already 18 years old. Yi Yun lay comfortably in the driver's seat and said, I can go with you, sister. If you want to go and see the whole universe, I don't mind. Please don't take me with you. Thank you. Ding Shiba said displeased, hey, how can you abandon your captain? You're still a defender, you must be responsible to me. We're all comrades in arms who share weal and woe. Yi Yun paused and said, come on, you're too naive. I can't resist it. You believe everything others say, and there's a possibility you could sell yourself someday. Ding Shiba refused and said, go ahead, I'm not that stupid. After a moment, Yi Yun sneered and said, 18 sisters, I heard that there is a super tycoon in Gruxing. He said that as long as he can raise a cat-ear star person, he can provide her with any food and items. He will never worry about food and clothing for a lifetime. Don't you think about it? Upon hearing this, Ding Shiba was overjoyed and said, really? When she saw Yi Yun smirk, she immediately changed her tune and said, do you think I'll take it seriously? I'll never be a slave in my youth. Yi Yun smiled and said, you still have some brain. Ding Shiba turned around and patted his chest, whispering, fortunately, I almost sold myself. Chapter 7. Gruxing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The transport spacecraft arrived at Gru Star 3 days later, marking Yi Yun's first visit to Gru Star. As seen in the image, Gru is an emerald green planet. Ding Shiba leaned down in front of the cab and said, wow, it's so beautiful. Yi Yun asked, aren't your cat-ear star beautiful? We don't have as much land on Cat's Ear Star to grow plants on, and the ocean occupies 80% of the planet's area. Yi Yun smiled and said, the Earth is also similar. The spacecraft enters the Interstellar Airport, and all spacecraft need to conduct entry checks here. Entry usually only involves scanning and registering prohibited items, and their spacecraft is just a transport ship. After scanning, there are no explosive prohibited items, so they are quickly released for entry. The spacecraft chose to land at Port of Green Forest, an advanced interstellar city with extremely high openness to the outside world, as there is a huge shopping mall 300 kilometers away from the city. That is a desert land where no matter what is planted, it cannot grow. It can be considered a great wonder of Gru, because Gru is a vegetative planet and theoretically, this situation would not occur. Therefore, thousands of years ago, Gru people were not sure what was going on. Until with the development of technology, intentional individuals discovered weak points in space here, where the spaces of two universes intersect, making everything unbelievable. However, in fact, 3,000 years ago, the Gru people had already begun to communicate with another parallel universe. 2,500 years ago, with the help of the parallel universe race, the Grus established a communication bridge. 2,000 years ago, hypermarkets emerged, and communication between the two sides began to become more frequent. 1,500 years ago, Gru Star completely opened up an interstellar port, which is the Port of Green Forest. Gradually, Gru became famous throughout the entire Milky Way, and the concept of parallel universes is no longer just a theory, but a fact that exists in reality. However, as more and more visitors arrived, Gru was in a state of chaos and finally broke out into war 1,000 years ago. The Gru people formed their own army, and with the help of the Kakru people, they finally stabilized the situation. However, the Kakru people cannot stay in this universe forever, and their lifespan will be greatly reduced. Therefore, in the past 300 years, the Gru people have found another ally resident, the Sirius people. The ruler of Gru is a tree man, and most of the residents are mostly trees. It is said that when they first evolved into intelligent creatures, there were still flowers and plants, but those intelligent flowers and plants have been eliminated in the long river of history. The Gru people are naturally kind and enjoy communication, while the strange wolf people who invite guests are completely the opposite. They are naturally fierce and have a bad temper. But the Sirius people have a good team spirit, and those who can stay on Gru are generally qualified citizens. They will not provoke trouble at will, and the army they form can also ensure the stability of Gru. Yi Yun is a survivor of the Earth War, penniless. He must go to the human settlement on Gru to verify his identity and withdraw the star coins from the Interstellar Bank before he can buy anything. Yi Yun asked Ding Shiba, "Shiba, do you come out without star coins?" Ding Shiba tidied up his backpack and said, "I came out in a bit of a hurry. Isn't there still so much goods here? If I sell a little, I'll make money." Yi Yun patted his forehead and said to himself, "It's really strong, it reminds you of it." Don't be fooled by Ding Shiba's appearance as a human like little Loli, she is actually 18 years old and her family's business is very large. She also has some knowledge after being exposed to it, especially the Nomura tree concentrate in the cargo hold, which can be sold at extremely high prices on Plant Star. Ding Shiba packed a box of 100 pieces with space capsules and sold them directly to the trading merchants of Green Forest Port. Although selling like this may result in some losses, it is highly efficient. Moreover, these 100 Noamu tree concentrates are only 1% of the goods, but their value has reached 300,000 star coins, which is enough for her to splurge in the big store. Yi Yun followed behind her, watching her skillful trade, and only spoke up after it was completed, "Oh, I've become a little rich woman in an instant. It seems like I've met a shrewd cat-ear star merchant." Ding Shiba looked up and straightened his chest, saying, "Humph, you just realized my strengths. Follow me, you don't have to worry about food and clothing." Yi Yun smiled and took her to the human settlement at the port. Humans are a highly adaptable race that can be described as spreading across all the intelligent planets in the Milky Way. Gru Star naturally has humans, and there is also a human city, but most of the humans there come to Gru Star for retirement. Yi Yun found a building with a wooden rattan style, which is actually illegal in Gruxing. Because Gru Star prohibits tree logging and does not use trees to build houses. But this is the residence of the human guardians, and the materials were also transported from other planets, which can be considered a special case. After entering, it was a bit deserted inside. Yi Yun brought Ding Shiba to the registration counter. A lazy young man asked, "What's going on?" "Register, verify your identity," Yi Yun frowned and said, "Identity verification." The young man looked at Yi Yun with confusion. Generally speaking, there are only two types of people who need identification. One is an interstellar refugee, a human born on a lower planet, and the other is a war survivor. The young man asked, "Are you an interstellar refugee or a survivor of war?" Yi Yun Dao said, "The 1488th student of the Earth Guardian Academy, student ID, ZX.35518, survivor of the Earth War." The young man was taken aback by the words and made a military salute, saying, "I'm sorry, I'll verify your identity now." The young man immediately operated on the virtual screen a few times, entered the student ID, and Yi Yun's information appeared, with many significant achievements, including the champion of a world-class fighter jet driving competition, and so on. However, there is also an obvious message above. Battle of the Guardian of the Home Star. Death in battle. Awarded the title of Earth Hero. The young man looked at Yi Yun again and scratched his head, saying, it shows that you have died in battle. I need to extract your cells and compare them with those in the information database to verify your identity. Yi Yun knew there would be this step, but he knew even more that he had completely changed now. Every cell in his body had the genes of aura, and perhaps he had completely changed the form of life, verifying that cells were no different from dying. Yi Yundao said, "My body has been exposed to cosmic rays and has undergone some mutations. Cell verification should have failed. Can you give me an interstellar communicator? I want to use friend authentication." Okay. There are naturally more than one methods of identity verification, as incredible things happen every day in the universe. The young man took a watch-style interstellar communicator and handed it to Yi Yun. Yi Yun dialed the most familiar number, which was Liang Hong's interstellar communicator number. The speed of signal transmission is a bit slow, and it takes 30 seconds for the call sound to sound. Chapter 8. Reunion 1000 light-years away. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Every time the call sounded, Yi Yun's heart became even more uneasy, until the sound sounded 1,000 light-years away. On the outskirts of the hero city of Jupiter, a magnificent cemetery has recently been erected, with many names engraved on it. There are many small tombstones in the cemetery, but there are no items inside. Some tombstones are carved with portraits, while others are embedded with photos. A young girl stood in front of a tombstone with a spiritual mask, her face not only filled with tears but also with rain. Looking at the photo on the tombstone, he said faintly, "Yun, I will inherit your wish, leave Cloud Jupiter, leave the Milky Way, and become an interstellar ranger. When I return there, I will bring back the most beautiful flowers in the entire universe." Dee, the interstellar communicator on her left wrist rang, and the girl ignored it for a few seconds. She wiped her tears and connected the communication. Liang Hong asked lightly, "Who is it?" An excited man's voice rang out over there. "Liang Hong, it's me." After a brief silence, Liang Hong's tears couldn't stop flowing. She cried and smiled, "Is it really you? You survived." "Well, I survived. Where are you?" At this point, the video signal from the communicator was received, and the images of both sides began to appear. The two of them saw each other's faces again. Yi Yun saw Liang Hongwen judo with tears on his face and said, "You've all cried like a little flower cat. Don't cry, you're the most beautiful red flower in the whole universe. Isn't this okay with me?" He. Liang Hong over there knows that Honghua is a secret code for two people and a small secret that only belongs to them. At this moment, no matter how much she wiped her tears, she couldn't stop. In the end, she sobbed and squatted down, crying loudly in front of the tombstone, "I thought you were dead, I really thought you were dead, woo." Liang Hong couldn't help but cry. Yi Yun was driving a cracked air vehicle and vaporized in front of her. Until the moment she was teleported, she didn't see any hope. She didn't know how Yi Yun survived, but it wasn't important. What was important was that he was still alive. Yi Yun watched her cry quietly. After crying for a few minutes, Liang Hong calmed down and asked, "Where are you?" Yi Yun smiled and said, "Gru Star." Liang Hong curiously said, "I'm on Cloud Jupiter, how could you be there?" Because to her knowledge, Gru is not one of the more than 3,000 evacuated planets, and there are too few humans there. Yi Yun smiled and said, "This matter is a bit complicated. I was saved and arrived here by spaceship. I need to verify my identity. My cells have mutated, so he. Liang Hong understood and realized that Yi Yun should have encountered some adventures. As long as she could live, she immediately said, "I'll go to the Guardian's residence to help you verify your identity. Don't move on Gru Star, I'll find you." Yi Yundao said, "No need, have you forgotten my wish? I want to be an interstellar ranger. Cloud Jupiter is closer to the edge of the Milky Way than Gru. When I come to find you, don't leave. At most, it will take me 6 months. I will definitely go there. Liang Hong nodded and said, all right, you must come. I had already planned to leave. Leaving? Yi Yun asked curiously, where are you going? Liang Hong smiled brightly and said, of course it's fulfilling our wish to become an interstellar ranger in the vast sea of stars. Ha ha ha, let's go together. I'm very powerful now. Okay, I'll wait for you. The two of them are talking about each other. Ding Shiba, who was watching beside her, was very unhappy. She sat on the chair with her mouth bulging and rested. She didn't really like Yi Yun, but you talked endlessly. How else can I go shopping? Mississippi, hurry up. The young people on the other side were really scattered with a wave of dog food. There are very few human women on this planet, and even if there are, they are very old to retire. Oh, envy. Yi Yun verified his identity through Liang Hong's proof, retrieved his human ID card, and opened the Interstellar Bank to transfer 10,000 yuan to purchase this interstellar communicator. He then bound his account. When binding, Ding Shiba was stunned. She counted and found that Yi Yun's deposit was over 100 million star coins. Stepping out of the Guardian's residence, Ding Shiba curiously asked, how could you have so much savings? Do humans all have so much money? Yi Yun smiled and said, part of it is my parents' inheritance. I am a war orphan, and the government provides a large amount of financial subsidies every year. The other part is earned by myself, which is only about 10 million yuan. Ding Shiba praised, oh, I see. Then you're also very impressive. You've earned so much money at such a young age. Yi Yun smiled and said, prices are relatively high on Earth. That's quite true. The two of them called a floating flying car to the mall. Yi Yun wanted to buy a few slave helpers, while Ding Shiba wanted to go shopping. Sitting on the flying car, Yi Yun asked, are you really planning to travel with me? Ding Shiba nodded and said, well, I've made a decision, and how can you leave without a spaceship? It takes at least 3 years to travel on a civilian spaceship to reach the edge of the Milky Way. Can you afford a private spaceship? Yi Yun smiled and said, that's right, then I'll reluctantly take you to see this vast sea of stars. Hello, these 4 words reluctantly are redundant. The two of them arrived at the shopping mall, where a 50-meter-high wall was built in the desert. The entrance was crowded with people, and creatures from different planets and races were coming in and out. The radio is constantly playing a prompt sound. Please carefully observe the channels belonging to your own life form, and do not enter other life form channels as there may be adverse reactions and dangers. Please be cautious and repeat. There are many races in the universe, and the most representative ones are mechanical beings, ethereal beings, elemental beings, and organic life forms. The void spirit race and the elemental race are both advanced races, and they are also the earliest intelligent races. Legend has it that organic life forms were created by these two races, while the mechanical race was created by life forms. But during the explosion of the universe's evolution, these races had already undergone countless changes. It cannot be said which race is the strongest, it can only be 100 flowers blooming and 100 schools of thought competing, and there are also many mixed races and so on. The two of them arrived at the entrance, and Yi Yun was puzzled for a moment. He found that there was also a guard station here, which was an exposed metal building where humans were moving goods and registering. Yi Yun did not go over, but after queuing up, he received a space shuttle helmet. After putting on this helmet, you can enter the exclusive race channel and enter another parallel universe. However, you cannot leave this hypermarket, otherwise you will not only be caught by the Kakru aliens, but also be torn apart by space forces. Just as Yi Yun and Ding Shiba entered the hypermarket, someone reported to the guard's residence just now. A person dialed the communicator and said, "Sir, here comes a young human with a cat-ear star man by his side. Excuse me, investigate the information about this human." Yes. Chapter 9. Slave Market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi-yun and Ding Shiba entered the hypermarket, and Ding Shiba was shocked by everything here. Although it is called a hypermarket, in fact, the area of this desert has reached 700,000 square kilometers, making it a super city, not just a shopping mall. But its history evolved from a small shopping mall, so its name is still used today. What you see outside is an endless desert, but with a space shuttle helmet on, it turns into a floating city. The hypermarket is divided into 3 levels: Sky City, Ground City, and Underground City. The Air City sells high-tech products and valuable items, while the Ground City sells luxury goods and next-generation items. Dungeons, also known as the City of Chaos, are home to creatures and merchants dealing with waste, selling both ordinary and obsolete items. The slave trade is relatively prohibited in any galaxy, and although Yi-yun is aware of this rule, he is also aware of the darkness here. The first place Yi-yun and Ding Shiba arrived was the Ground City. The two of them boarded flying skateboards for transportation, and along the street were a dazzling array of shops and goods. In addition to the Croatians, the shop assistants also have a large number of rare parallel world creatures. First stop: Dessert Street. This is what Ding Shiba read from a book on Cat Ear Star. It is said that Cat Ear Star people's favorite is desserts in supermarkets. This one, I want this one. Yi-yun looked at Ding Shiba, who was excited and speechless. The thing she ordered had already been eliminated on Earth. It was an ice cream. And the Earth replaced ice cream with crystal fruit as early as 300 years ago. The taste of the two is the same, and crystal fruit can continuously suck out ice cream, but the price is equivalent to regular ice cream. But this is Ding Shiba's first time seeing ice cream and also his first time tasting it. Yi-yun couldn't help but remind, be careful, this thing is very exciting for you Cat Star people. Ding Shiba didn't believe in evil and licked it, his whole body exploding with cat hair, saying, "It's so cold, whoosh." Stupid Ding Shiba kept blowing ice cream with his mouth, and Yi-yun burst into laughter as he watched. Ding Shiba finally remembered that it was not hot, but cold. He blushed and said, "Why laugh? It's their first time eating." "Humph, there's nothing to be afraid of, ahem." Ding Shiba took a bite off the top ice cream ball, followed closely by his widened eyes and darted around, pulling Yi-yun and pointing his fingers at his open mouth, tears cooling down. Yi-yun laughed incessantly, his stomach almost hurting. Ah bah. In the end, Ding Shiba couldn't bear the cold and spat out the ice cream ball in his mouth. With tears in his eyes, he said, "The books are all deceitful, this thing is not delicious." At this moment, a soccer star robot rolled over and said, "Hello, spitting anything everywhere will result in a fine of 300 stars. Upon hearing this, Ding Shiba drooled and looked stunned. Yi-yun covered his stomach and laughed again. "Ah, this damn place is really annoying." The ice cream was eventually given to Yi-yun, and Ding Shiba only took a few bites before losing interest. Later, he became interested in other desserts. The two wandered for a while before finally having lunch at a tea house. Yi-yun Dao said, "I've finished accompanying you this morning. It's time to go to the slave market in the afternoon." Ding Shiba was a bit puzzled and said, I don't want to go to that place. Why don't I wait for you to come back here? I promise not to run around. We also have communication devices to communicate with each other, and I won't get lost." Yi-yun looked at Ding Shiba with a confident mind and burning eyes, and thought to himself, "Okay, let this old lady suffer once. If she suffers a loss, she will remember her lesson." Yi-yun could imagine that in such a complex place, not to mention getting lost, such a rare and lovely cat ear star person would probably be targeted by many merchants. Although different races have different aesthetic preferences, their perception of being cute and adorable is consistent. Regardless of the species, they were very cute and likable when they were young, and the small and delicate appearance of the cat ear man is the best interpretation of adorable pets. Not to mention that both Gruxing tree people and Kiliuxing people are very tall, with tree people generally around 4 meters tall. As adults, Kiliuxing people are also over 2.5 meters tall. When they look at a height of 1.2 meters, they are like dolls. Yiyun drank a cup of coffee and said, "Okay, then don't run around here and don't leave Dessert Street. I'll be back at most tonight." Ding Shiba nodded fiercely and said, I'll just take a look. I won't run around." Before leaving, Yiyun put on a necklace and a ring for her and reminded her in her ear, "These two things are locators. In case of danger, be sure to protect these two things." "Oh, I see. Didn't you say it's very safe here?" "Don't worry, I'm in my teens and I won't sell myself." "Okay, I'm leaving." Yiyun left, and it wasn't until she couldn't see his figure that Ding Shiba suddenly realized she was scared. She was so lonely, but when she turned her head and saw a string of sweet candies, she immediately followed the vendor and left. Yiyun took a suspended tram all the way down and arrived at the underground city in a minute. This area is actually divided into commercial and residential areas. The commercial area is relatively clean. After arriving there, he walked around casually. On the surface, there was no slave trade here, but based on past experience, he quickly found a hidden dark street with a few black-clothed people. After entering, there were guards on both sides, but I gave him a faint glance. These two guards were tall and powerful, both of whom were about 3.3 meters tall. This height is an absolute warrior level. They have strong muscles and hold laser spears in their hands. This street is not chaotic, and on both sides of the street where you just entered, there are antiques sold. Of course, most of the antiques here are fake. Just a minute ahead, you can see a shop selling orcs openly. Orcs are a relatively lower race in the universe, with low intelligence and considerable strength, suitable for transporting supplies and engaging in close combat. However, most of the time they are not as user-friendly as robots, so the price is extremely low. With the development of technology, heavy slaves will be eliminated from the market, and only those with talent and rare races will have the value of being sold. Along the way, Yiyun never encountered the target he wanted, and there would be no humans here because no one had the courage to do so. Humans are the dominant beings in the Milky Way. Even if their home planet is destroyed, there are secondary main stars and colonial planets, and so on. Moreover, it's not bad for humans nowadays not to retaliate against others. No one would dare to provoke them at this point. Yiyun walked all the way to the center of this street, where there was a large square with a high platform and some goods being auctioned off. A strange wolf star man roared, "Take a look, a standard fish man woman. Look at how beautiful her scales are. She can survive by feeding fish grass, which is worry-free and laborious. What are you waiting for? The starting price is 50,000 star coins." Below, people's heads surged and someone shouted, 60,000 star coins. I'll pay 80,000. 100,000 yuan. Don't even compete with me. Who knows you, 150,000 yuan. The women of the mermaid race are still very popular. According to Earthlings, this is a mermaid. Of course, there is a difference between this mermaid and the legendary one on Earth. It is not a mermaid with a fish tail, but a fish head with a human body with a fish tail. In Yiyun's aesthetic opinion, it is of no value at all. Chapter 10. Are all Force Warriors sold? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yiyun leaned against the wall and continued to look, hoping to find a useful slave. After waiting for 2 items, his eyes lit up. It wasn't that the slave was very strong, but rather very special. This is a strange wolf planet person, who is unlikely to sell his own kind on the local planet. Such blatant selling of his kind must have offended someone. This person's appearance is also somewhat miserable. His right hand is broken, his left eye is blind, and one ear is also missing. His whole body is lethargic, bound by a huge chain. What surprised Yi Yun the most was that there is a suppression collar on the neck of this strange wolf star person, which is a force suppressor. Yi Yun thought to himself, is this guy a force warrior? The force is actually the energy term of a powerful empire outside the Milky Way, also known as the force of nature or the force of law on Earth. Just like the chi used by Yi Yun is a manifestation of the force of nature, he currently not only masters the force of nature, but also the force of star beasts. There are many ways to obtain the power of nature, such as through the conversion of chi, daily natural absorption, and one way is through faith meditation. Yi Yun has a low level of mastery of the power of nature, and his most powerful skill is the use of chi. On the other hand, Liang Hong is the opposite of him. Liang Hong is a combat maniac who is proficient in mastering the power of nature, so Yi Yun's original physical combat power is far inferior to Liang Hong. This is also why he chose to fly a fighter jet. And the serious people generally refer to warriors who use the power of nature as force warriors, indicating that the serious people are actually a race from a foreign star realm. No matter what it is called, this strange wolf star person should be a natural warrior, but he ended up in such a situation, probably losing. And it seems that his force is dissipating. Yi Yun opened the red-eyed and blue-eyed star beast's eye, intending to take a closer look. However, at that moment, Aura suddenly spoke up and smiled, "Don't look, this waste has no value in utilization." Yi Yun exclaimed in surprise, "Can you see the outside world?" Aura snorted coldly and said, "Humph, little devil, you're using my power, so I can naturally see what's going on outside." Yi Yun was slightly unhappy. He had finally thought of this ability before, and with his own talent, it can be said that he possessed a pair of prophetic eyes. However, now it seems that it is better not to use this ability frequently. Don't use anything that is related to Aura casually, this is a warning given to him by Fantasy Face. Although it was only a brief use of Aura's power, he had already figured out the situation of this serious man. At this point, the bidding has already begun, with someone offering a bid of 300,000 yuan. Wait. At this moment, Yi Yun raised his hand and said, "Just now you said he was a force warrior, and his lost body can be regenerated. I can understand that, but why is his force losing? What is the use of such a force warrior who is about to become an ordinary person?" After Yi Yun finished speaking, everyone present fell silent. Only the strange wolf star person who was kneeling and being sold opened one eye to look at Yi Yun. He knew his own physical condition, and this young man could see through his own reality at a glance, exposing the ugly faces of these guys. Although his heart was painful, a slight smile appeared on his face. He grinned and said, "Evil cough cough, the lackeys of Kasi, your plan has fallen through. Cough cough cough, do you think everyone in the world is stupid? I'm not worth any money, huh?" A vendor said, "Stop talking nonsense. If you're not worth anything, then you can die." Wait. Another person stopped him and looked at Yi Yundao, "Kid, what we're selling is indeed a force warrior. He killed many of our own kind 2 days ago, and many people have seen him. Even if his force dissipates, it will take some time. During this period, he can do a lot of things, and it's definitely worth it. If you want anything, please continue bidding. Also, kid, it's best to restrain yourself." Yi Yun sneered at the words and said, "Oh. Is that how you threaten a potential customer? It's really interesting. Isn't it that the big stores of Gruxing are very peaceful? It seems that rumors are all false. You." The person from the strange wolf star who had just spoken was furious and gestured to the nearby subordinates, but did not continue to argue with Yi Yun. Yi Yun raised his hand and said, "But what you just said is also true. He still has some effects in a short period of time, 3 million star coins." Wow! Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Someone said, "This guy claims he's a waste, but now with just one move, the price has increased tenfold. Is there anything fishy about this strange wolf person?" On the other side, there was a person who said, "No, this person is probably a scapegoat. This remark was whispered again by an outstanding person. It must have been a deliberate arrangement by the seller for the play. If anyone sees the poor quality of this person, it will be difficult to sell at a reasonable price, so they sent someone to play such a play. Humph. As the discussion grew louder, the sellers on stage were furious. A group of more than 10 people stared at Yi Yun below, while Yi Yun hugged his hands and smiled. In fact, the price of a Force Warrior far exceeds 3 million star coins. Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.net is because if you can command this warrior to do something, the damage and benefits it can cause are no less than a level 2 warship. Of course, this person's force is about to dissipate and will be greatly discounted, but it will definitely exceed 3 million star coins, at least worth 5 million star coins. Yi Yun's one-time increase of 10 times is just to disgust and calculate this group of people. Sure enough, these shrewd businessmen felt that this was a seller's show. The problem with this Force Warrior was probably more than that. Many people gave up bidding, but only one person considered adding 100,000 for a while. At this moment, Yi Yun was not in a hurry and glanced at the seller on stage. After a while, he shouted, "I also added 100,000. This time, there really wasn't anyone to add anymore. Just now, these merchants all felt that Yi Yun was waiting for instructions, and that businessmen thought this deal was unreliable and gave up. Kid, you're doing well. Our Cass family remembers this." Yi Yun smiled and said, "Stop talking nonsense. Give me the remote control for the suppressor and the controller for the nanorobot. Also, I need to perform a human body scan for him. Who knows how many more problems there are." "Humph, our Kasi family never tricks around in business, you can check it yourself. There is a scanner next to the auction square, and this strange wolf man has no other suppressor besides being injected with more than 10 nanorobot bombs inside his body." Yi Yun then removed the force suppressor from his neck and destroyed the nanorobot inside him. This surprised the slave very much. Isn't this human teenager afraid of him running away? Yi Yun smiled at him and said, "Let me guess, your way of obtaining the force should be through faith meditation, right? And now you are a complete useless person.